Hello and welcome to Run Testers. My name is Nick. In this video I'm going to be comparing the Hoka Clifton 10 to the Nike Pegasus 41. So the Clifton 10 and the Pegasus 41 are both very popular daily trainers that appeal to a really wide range of runners due to their pretty versatile and inoffensive rides. They're designed to really suit a wide range of runners, especially newer runners who might pick them up not exactly knowing what their preferences are, but they also work very well for experienced runners as cushioned trainers that can pick up a lot of mileage. They're both around the same kind of price as well, but the Clifton is a little bit more expensive. It's £140 or $150, whereas the Pegasus is £130 or $140. They're similar in weight, with the Clifton being 285 grams or 10 ounces in a UK 9, whereas the Pegasus is 291 grams or 10.3 ounces in a UK 9. You've got a 10mm drop on the Pegasus and an 8mm drop on the Clifton. When it comes to the design of the two shoes, you've got a jacquard knit upper with the Clifton 10. You've got quite a lot of padding on the tongue and around the collar of the shoe, and a very stiff and large internal heel counter. This is part of the rear foot active foot frame that Hoka puts in place to basically create quite a stable ride for what is a neutral shoe. You've also got sidewalls of foam. Your foot kind of sits within almost like a bucket seat, and a pretty wide base along the length of the shoe as well. Then you've got a compression molded EVA midsole. It's not the liveliest or most exciting foam in the world, but it's a nice balanced material that provides a good amount of softness without veering into being too squishy, and a little bit of responsiveness for your toe offs. You've also got Hoka's Meta Rocker design on the shoe as well to provide a slightly smoother ride, and then a Durabrasion rubber outsole. You've not got full coverage here, but there's extensive coverage on the forefoot and heel with this kind of pod structure with rubber covering the tops of those pods. Then with the Pegasus 41, you've got an engineered mesh upper, again lots of padding on the tongue and collar of the shoe, with a pretty significant internal heel counter on the Pegasus as well to add a lot of structure at the back there. Quite a thick material all round, I'd say the mesh on the Pegasus, quite a warm one. Then you've got a React X midsole foam with air zoom pods underneath the heel and forefoot. So those have a slightly firmer feel, those pods, to give a bit more responsiveness, with the React X primarily being quite a soft and cushy foam designed for comfort and protection above all else. Then you've got a waffle tread outsole with pretty extensive coverage all around, quite a thick layer of rubber, more coverage than you get on the Hoka Clifton, I would say, and a thicker layer of rubber as well on the Pegasus. So it comes to fit of the two shoes. I've got a UK 9 in both, but that differs in terms of US sizing with these brands. With Hoka, a UK 9 is a US 9.5. With Nike, a UK 9 is a US 10. However, it's the size I use with both of these brands. I'm pretty much either a US 9.5 or a 10 in general, and I've stuck to this sizing with both these brands for many years, and I've always had a good fit, and I have a very good fit with the Nike and the Hoka, I would say. So I'll just, in general, stick to your normal running shoe size. You've got the right amount of length here with these shoes. Good hold around the heel and midfoot. They're both pretty padded around the back of the shoe, which can mean they run a little bit warm when it comes to runs in hot conditions, especially the Nike, which I think has got quite a thick upper around the forefoot of the shoe. But yeah, both very comfortable, both a good fit, had no concerns really, and I would stick to your normal size for running shoes. On to the run test then. I've done about 70 kilometers in the Hoka Clifton 10 and around 60 in the Nike Pegasus 41, using them both for a mix of training runs, mostly at easy paces, but I've also done some easy to steady progression runs in them. I've done a longer run in the Hoka as well, and a short session in the Nike Pegasus to see how it felt picking up the speed a bit. They're both really designed to be, I think, more cushioned daily trainers to use for your easy runs. I think if you are a newer runner or a one-shoe runner who likes a cushioned trainer, both of them have a bit of versatility, but neither really shines on that front compared to slightly more lightweight, more speed-focused daily trainers. These are very much at the cushioned end of the spectrum, designed to rack up a lot of miles, protect the body, and give, in general, just a comfortable feel and a protective feel to the run. I think they're both really good shoes, to be honest. They sit in that price bracket that I think is quite an appealing one. Like, it's not exactly cheap, but they're both shoes that are long-running lines. They pop up in sales quite a lot, and I think they do offer good value as pretty versatile shoes that will appeal to lots of runners, and they offer quite a similar level of performance, but I think the differences between them will come down to the ride feel you prefer, because they do have quite different feels on the run, I would say. So the Pegasus, you've got quite a traditional setup, like the classic running shoe silhouette with that 10mm drop, big wedge of foam at the heel, and then a thinner one under the forefoot, and no real overt rocker to the geometry of the shoe. You kind of just snap through with it, and that creates a snappier feeling ride, but it does mean you notice the lower amount of cushioning you have under the forefoot compared to the Hoka and in other shoes in general these days. I think the Hoka design is more common now. If you look at other brands, more like a 6 to 8mm drop with a rocker, more forefoot cushioning. Nike and Brooks probably stick more to this high drop, kind of snappy traditional ride, and that's what you're getting with the Pegasus 41. It is very soft at the heel, quite a squishy feeling heel with this Reactex midsole, I'd say. It's very protective there. And as you come through, the way I snap through as a heel striker actually means it's not always the most comfortable under the forefoot, because there is a lower level of cushioning under the forefoot, and I can get a bit of discomfort over long runs or faster runs in the Pegasus because of the way I snap through. The foam is soft and cushioned. There's not a lot of life in it, I'd say. When I did try and pick up the speed in the Pegasus, as I came through onto that forefoot, you don't get a huge amount of kind of punch off the toes with that Reactex midsole foam. It's more a shoe that's designed to soak up mileage and protect the body than provide much of a responsive ride feel. And that is true with the Hoka Clifton 10 as well, but you've got more of a rockered ride with the Hoka for sure. The difference in drop is not very much, but you definitely notice the extra cushioning under the forefoot with the Hoka, and the fact it does roll through a bit more smoothly than the Nike Pegasus. Also feels a bit more cushioned in terms of width, because it does have that element of stability on either side of the foot there. The Nike is also a pretty stable shoe for a neutral shoe, but I do think there's a bit more of that with the Hoka. I think it's a little bit less soft than the Nike at the heel with the foam you have here, but then it does feel more cushioned and comfortable under the forefoot over long distances, the Clifton for me, because again, it's just that rocker means I'm not snapping through with such force onto the forefoot, and you've got more forefoot cushioning in general. I also say the Clifton 10 does feel a bit more versatile to me, that the foam in the Hoka is not exceptional. It's a pretty balanced, fairly bland foam underfoot. They've got some more exciting supercritical foams in some of their other shoes, but I think it does give you more of a platform to push against if you're going to run at speed, and the rocker helps as well. Just keep your feet turning over if you're trying to sustain faster speeds in particular. I think the Hoka is a bit better at that than the Nike Pegasus for me, and the weight feels a bit more balanced. With the Pegasus, like it's all in the heel of the shoe with that big thick wedge of foam. One thing the Pegasus I think probably does have a bit of an edge on though is outsole. They've both been pretty good on grip for me, but I think you're getting slightly better grip with the Pegasus, and I think you're going to get a bit more durability out of that thicker rubber outsole you have there. Did do a short run in both shoes at the same time, just kind of feel out these differences, and the snappy feel of the Pegasus is noticeable compared to the more rockered ride on the Hoka, as is the squishier, softer heel design on the Pegasus, which does do a great job of soaking up the impact if you're landing there, but like I say, when I then snap through onto the forefoot, it doesn't feel as comfortable because I'm coming through fast with that 10mm drop, and the lower forefoot stack means you do notice you get a bit more ground feel, which some people might like. It's a little bit more direct, but the smooth, easy ride of the Hoka Clifton 10 I think does work a bit better for me. Onto the verdict, and these are two really solid shoes. As I said before, I do think they have a similar level of performance and do a similar job. They'll be very good daily trainers for lots of runners out there, whether you're using it purely as a cushion shoe or for all your runs. And they're two shoes I'd happily recommend to newer runners because I think they're reasonable value, again, like I say, because they often pop up in sales. I prefer the ride of the Hoka Clifton 10 myself, and it's the one I'd recommend first because I don't think it's overly rockered. I don't think it's too pronounced or anything like that. I think it's a shoe that lots of runners will get on with. I do think you get a slightly higher level of cushioning under the forefoot, which is a bit more comfortable. I think it rolls through very smoothly, and I do think it will work for lots of runners, whereas the Pegasus, I think, isn't quite as comfortable, and I don't think it's quite as versatile either. So it's a really good shoe. I think lots of runners will get on with it very well, but I do prefer the feel of the Hoka Clifton 10 myself. If you do prefer less rockered shoes and a slightly snappier ride, then the Pegasus does offer that. I also think it offers a bit more in terms of a shoe you'd use for general walking around as well, because it's got that more durable outsole, and it's a slightly nicer looking shoe as well. So that might be a consideration if you're looking for one shoe to do a range of stuff in, maybe hit the gym in as well. I think the Pegasus does all of that really well, but for pure running, I prefer the feel of the Hoka Clifton 10 a little bit, and I do think it's a touch more versatile, but a lot of what your choice should be here will come down to personal preference. If you don't know what your personal preference is, if you're coming to running shoes for the first time, I'd go for the Clifton first. I think it's a slightly more enjoyable running shoe, but if you do know you like that higher drop feel, that snappier feel, the more ground feel under the forefoot, then the Pegasus offers that. That's a comparison of the Hoka Clifton 10 and the Nike Pegasus 41. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.